I'm Dave Randall, and this is my wife, Shauna. I'm a 2009 graduate of the CSU MBA program. I currently work for a Northwest-based investment advisory firm in operational capacity. When I went through the program, we were married and had a 2-year-old when I started, and our second son was born. It really helped provide the depth of knowledge from a business standpoint and also from a personal and professional growth standpoint to help propel me into an executive position. In August of 2012, our third son, Cole, was born. He was immediately embraced by our kids. There wasn't much by way of sibling rivalry or anything like that. It was more arguing of who got to hold him and who got to sing to him. Everything was great until about when he was about 5.5 weeks old. We noticed one morning his heart was beating out of his chest and he was breathing extremely rapidly. Shauna took him to the kid's pediatrician and he immediately called an ambulance. They took him to our local children's hospital where we spent about 15 days and found that he was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy type 1. Type 1 is the most severe. It progresses similarly to ALS in the brain's ability to communicate with the muscles, and it's very degenerative and it acts very quickly. And with spinal muscular atrophy type 1 that's diagnosed in infants, they generally say 2 years maximum lifespan. One of the stories I like to tell about our son Cole is that he would smile under some really severe circumstances, some really trying times. And when the boys came to visit him at the hospital, he was intubated, so required assisted breathing, had an IV in his head, a PICC line in his groin, feeding tube in his nose. But the minute his older brothers walked into the room, he would light up and smile big. So that I think we learned a lot about ourselves, and that really put things into perspective, to really be able to smile during some pretty difficult times. And first it was days to weeks, and then it was weeks to months. And when we took him home, he was oxygen dependent, so it was hard to really take him places. We kind of had a hospital set up at home, and eventually a month later he passed away, and he ended up living for 76 days. They say when you lose a child, you experience new grief for 5 years. For us, really the first year was just about putting one foot in front of the other, getting dressed, showing up for work, making sure that we're taking care of our kids. And for me, once we reached those anniversaries of his birthday, the day that he went to the hospital and the day that he passed, it was like a switch flipped and wanted to do something about it. We wanted to make a difference, to honor his life and show our kids how to respond positively to a really tough situation. So we decided at that point that we were going to do some fundraising and try to support research to find a cure. We were really proactive and put a date on the calendar in September of 2014, put together a committee, filed for nonprofit status with the idea that maybe we could raise $10,000, and what a great contribution that would be to research in his name. We started getting some pretty good sponsorships. We started procuring some decent items, and we watched our numbers grow and grow and grow. And by the time it was all said and done, we raised $75,000 in our very first year. I think that MBA really provides a strong foundation and really the resourcefulness to be able to figure things out even if you haven't done them before. And I think everything we do with our foundation is very strategic, and we follow a lot of the vision, mission, values, the strategic value pyramid. And I think I never really knew how productive I could be until I was managing, getting my MBA, working full time, and progressing professionally while I was getting my MBA and working full time and raising 2 kids and coaching sports. I never really realized how productive I could be, and I think my MBA really brought that out in me.